Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know we love to unpack complex topics, and today is no different. We're going to be exploring AI and materials science R&D. And we got some really interesting research from a study done at a major U.S. firm where scientists were given access to this really cutting-edge AI tool. And the results are honestly pretty remarkable, with some big implications for the future of scientific discovery.
Yeah, definitely. This study is really a fascinating look into how AI is transforming material science research.
So I guess we should address the elephant in the room right off the bat. Traditional materials, science R&D, it's notoriously slow. It's really expensive. Lots of trial and error, dead ends, painstakingly slow progress. But this AI tool that we're going to be talking about today, it seems to be a game changer.
For sure. The AI uses these advanced graph neural networks. These are often called GNNs. And basically, these are algorithms trained on, huge data sets of existing materials. And what's really cool about these is they can actually generate these recipes for new materials with specific properties.
So are you saying that, scientists don't have to spend hours and hours in the lab trying to synthesize and test different combinations? They can just, input the characteristics they want into the AI, and it's like having a crystal ball, but for materials.
You got it. It completely flips the traditional paradigm of materials research. So now, instead of starting with a material and figuring out its properties, scientists can now define the properties they want, and then they let the AI point them in the right direction. It's called inverse materials design, and it's totally different from conventional approaches.
So this study I was reading about, their study design, it's pretty clever. They split the scientists up into different waves of AI adoption. So some of the teams got to use the tool right away, while others had to wait. So this let them really clearly compare the groups and see how much of a difference the AI actually made.
Yeah, exactly. It's really well controlled, and it shows the AI's impact. And honestly, the results are pretty amazing. The scientists who used the AI, they discovered 44% more new materials than the ones who didn't.
Wow. Okay, 44%. That's huge. But is it just about quantity? Or are we also seeing a difference in the quality of what they're finding too?
That's a good question, and the study did look at that. And it turns out the AI actually made the materials better too. It wasn't just giving them more options, it was finding better solutions.
I have to admit, when I first heard about this, I was kind of skeptical. I didn't really think an AI could be as good as a human.
Yeah.
At least not when it comes to, understanding what makes a good material. But I guess the study shows I was wrong. It seems like the AI can actually do both. Speed things up and improve quality.
Exactly. It busts the myth that AI is all about speed and not quality. They did a really deep analysis of the materials, and the evidence is pretty clear. The AI-assisted discoveries weren't just small changes to existing materials. These were new and better compounds.
Okay, so this is all really impressive. But what I really want to know is, does it actually lead to real-world innovation? Are we seeing these new materials in patents or prototypes?
Yes. The study looked at that too, and they found a really strong connection. The scientists who used the AI were filing 39% more patents, and then a little later, there was a 17% jump in the number of prototypes using the AI-discovered materials.
So this isn't just some theoretical thing. It's actually changing how R&D works, from the initial discovery all the way to developing a product. It's speeding up the whole process.
Exactly. It really shows how powerful AI can be in materials science. But it's not just about doing things a little bit better or faster. It's pushing innovation in a totally new direction.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. Tell me more about this radical innovation.
Well, there are a few things. First, the AI came up with compounds that were totally different from anything that existed before. So these are totally new discoveries, not just variations of old ones. And second, the patents from the scientists who used the AI, they were actually more likely to use brand new technical terms, which usually means it's really groundbreaking work. When you have to invent new words to describe something, it means it's really new.
Right, that makes sense. New stuff needs new words. What else?
The last thing is that the AI wasn't just making products a little bit better, it was helping to create entirely new kinds of products. And this was something that was always limited before because they just didn't have the right materials.
So this AI is opening up possibilities we couldn't even imagine before. This is seriously game-changing. But I gotta ask, was there a downside? Did every scientist benefit equally?
That's a great point. The AI wasn't like a magic wand for everybody. Some scientists did amazing with it, and others saw more modest improvements. So the researchers looked into this, and they found one thing that made a big difference. They called it judgment.
Judgment. What does that even mean in this context?
Basically, it means being able to look at what the AI suggests and quickly pick out the best options. The scientists who were really good at this, they could test and develop those materials much faster, so they ended up being way more productive.
So even with this crazy advanced AI, human expertise is still super important. You can't just blindly follow the AI's recommendations. You need to be able to use your own judgment to make sense of it all.
That's exactly right. The AI is a tool, but it's not a replacement for scientific intuition and expertise. In fact, you could say that the AI is actually changing the skills you need to be successful in material science R&D.
So scientists have to adapt, learn new skills.
Yeah.
Interesting. But why were some scientists better at this judgment thing than others? Was it just that they were more comfortable with technology?
Surprisingly, no. The study actually found that it wasn't about how good they were with computers. It was about their knowledge of material science.
So experience still matters, even in the age of AI.
Absolutely. The scientists who had more experience, more training, they were just better at spotting patterns. They could see those tiny but really important differences between the compounds that the AI suggested.
That makes sense. You need that deep knowledge to make those judgment calls. So what does this all mean for companies who are thinking about using AI tools like this? Any advice for them?
Yeah, I think this study has some important implications for organizations. Since judgment is so important for working with AI, they might need to start looking at hiring and training differently.
So don't just look for scientists who are good with tech. Look for ones who are good at making decisions with complex information. And maybe even train them specifically on how to work with AI.
Exactly. Companies should be looking for people who can really sort through information and make good choices. And the training should be focused on helping scientists become expert collaborators with these AI tools, because that's where the field is heading.
And of course, we can't forget about the human side of all this. What about job satisfaction? How did the scientists feel about working with this AI? Were they worried about robots taking over their jobs? Or was it something else?
Well, this is where things get a little interesting. Even the scientists who are doing amazingly well with the AI, the ones whose productivity went through the roof, they were actually less satisfied with their jobs.
Really? They're doing more, better work, but they're less happy. That just doesn't make sense.
I know, right? It's kind of counterintuitive. But this study highlights something really important. It seems like for a lot of scientists, the joy of discovery is in the process itself, not just the results.
So because the AI takes over that first part, the idea-generating phase, it's taking away some of the intellectual satisfaction that scientists get from their work.
Precisely. It's a tricky balance. We have to figure out how to integrate AI into science without making scientists feel like they're not really needed anymore. So before the break, we were talking about how even when the scientists were more productive, they were actually kind of less happy.
Yeah, it is a bit of a head-scratcher, right?
Yeah.
You'd think a tool that makes research faster and easier would also make scientists, happier.
You'd think so. But this study, it really points to something deeper. It suggests that for a lot of scientists, the real joy of doing science, it's about the process, not just the end result.
So the AI, by taking over that initial stage, the coming up with ideas part, it's sort of taking away some of the intellectual satisfaction.
Exactly. It's like, where's the balance? We've got to find ways to use AI in science without making scientists feel like they're being pushed aside.
So are there any, solutions? Can AI be designed in a way that actually makes scientists happier? Or is this just an inevitable trade-off we have to make?
It's a question a lot of people are working on right now. One idea that seems promising is to make AI tools that are more like partners rather than replacements.
So instead of the AI just giving orders, it would work with the scientists, helping them explore and refine their own ideas.
Exactly. It's about creating a relationship where the AI complements human skills and intuition instead of trying to take over.
So we need a totally different kind of AI then. One that's more adaptable, more responsive to how each individual scientist thinks.
Right. We need AI that can fit into all sorts of different scientific workflows. AI that can understand how humans reason and can adjust to different styles of thinking.
This study focused on materials science. But do you think what they found applies to other areas of science too?
I think so. AI is being used more and more in a bunch of different fields: drug development, astronomy, medical diagnostics. The details might be different in each field, but the basic challenges and opportunities are probably going to be pretty similar.
So it's not just materials scientists who are going to have to learn how to work with AI. It's going to be pretty much everyone in science.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to require a whole new way of thinking, not just for scientists, but for research institutions, funding agencies, even the public. We need to get ready for a future where AI is just part of how we do science. And that means understanding both the good and the bad that comes with it.
We've talked a lot about the impact on scientists, on research organizations. But what about the bigger picture? How could this AI revolution in material science affect, society as a whole?
That's a really important question. And the potential impact is huge. I mean, materials science is everywhere. It's in energy, healthcare, transportation, manufacturing. Basically, anytime there's a big advance in those fields, it's usually because of some new material.
So if AI can speed up the development of new materials, it could lead to breakthroughs in all these different areas.
Exactly. Imagine things like solar panels that are way more efficient, or building materials that are lighter and stronger, or even personalized medicine. These are just a few examples of what we could see with AI-powered materials science.
It sounds like we're about to enter a whole new era of innovation, one where AI is leading the way for some of the biggest scientific and technological advancements. But you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility, right? We got to make sure we're using this technology the right way.
I completely agree. This study really shows how important it is to be careful about how we develop and use AI. We can't just focus on the technical stuff. We have to think about the social, economic, even philosophical implications.
We can't just let technology run wild without thinking about the consequences.
Great.
We need to have a conversation as a society about all this.
Absolutely. Scientists, policymakers, the public, we all need to talk to each other. AI is changing really fast, and it's important to have open and honest conversations about how it's going to affect our lives.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in understanding and really using the power of AI in science?
This study, it's really a wake-up call for the scientific community. We need more research, more experimentation. We need to really analyze how AI is impacting all the different areas of science. We also need to figure out some new rules, best practices for developing AI responsibly, especially when it comes to scientific discovery. And maybe most importantly, we need to invest in training and education so that the next generation of scientists will have the skills they need to succeed in this new world of AI.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. We've learned so much about how AI is changing materials science. And I think what we've talked about, it goes way beyond just material science. It's about the future of science itself.
It really is. This study gives us a glimpse into a future where AI is completely changing how we do science. And while there are definitely going to be some challenges, there's also a lot to be excited about.
Very well said. Before we wrap things up, I want to come back to something we talked about earlier. Scientific progress. It's not just about technology. It's about people.
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the key takeaways from this study.
Even with this super advanced AI, it was the scientists who made the difference. Their expertise, their judgment, their ability to work together, all those human elements were crucial. It wasn't just a matter of letting the AI do its thing.
Exactly. The AI was a tool, yes, but it was the humans who drove the innovation. And that's something we can't forget as we move forward with AI in science.
It would be a real shame if, in our quest for efficiency and automation, we lost sight of what makes science so special. The human ingenuity, the creativity, the passion for knowledge.
I agree. This study is a reminder that we need to find ways to use AI in a way that makes those human qualities even stronger, not weaker.
It's a delicate balance, but it's one we have to find. Now, let's move on to our final segment. We have a question from a listener that touches on a really interesting aspect of AI and scientific discovery. So we got a really interesting question from a listener, and it actually fits in perfectly with what we've been talking about. They write, I'm really curious about this whole black box AI thing, like where even the scientists don't really understand how the AI is coming up with its suggestions. Do you think that's a problem for science? I mean, isn't transparency and understanding like really important for science?
It's a great question, and it gets at a really fundamental tension that we're dealing with in AI right now. On the one hand, we have these super powerful algorithms. They can see patterns, make predictions that we might miss. But the thing is, how they actually work, it can be really hard to understand, even for the people who created them.
So it's like we have this dilemma. Can we really trust what the AI is telling us if we don't even know how it got there?
It's tricky. There's no easy answer. I think in some cases, maybe the benefits of the AI outweigh the fact that we don't totally get it. If the AI is giving us accurate predictions, leading to real discoveries, maybe a little bit of mystery is okay, especially if we couldn't have made those discoveries without the AI.
But science isn't just about getting results, right? It's also about understanding how things work, the mechanisms, the principles behind what we're seeing.
Absolutely. And that's the challenge. If we just treat AI like a magic black box, we might be missing out on some really important insights. We might not understand the basic principles behind our discoveries.
It's like you have a magic wand that grants wishes, but you have no idea how it works. At first, it's amazing, but after a while, it might start to feel a little unsettling, right?
Right. But luckily, there are things we can do about it. One thing is to try and create AI models that are easier to understand, models where we can at least get a glimpse into how they're thinking.
So instead of just giving an answer, the AI could sort of explain its reasoning in a way that makes sense to us humans.
Exactly. Another thing we can do is use AI more for generating hypotheses. So the AI suggestions are more like starting points for investigation and experimentation. They're not the final word.
So we're not just blindly accepting what the AI says, we're using it to jumpstart our own scientific process. That sounds like a much better approach.
I think so. And finally, it's super important for AI experts and scientists to work together. This isn't about humans versus machines. It's about finding ways for them to work as a team using the best of both worlds.
A real partnership, where AI helps humans do even better science. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. We've learned so much about how AI is changing materials science, and I think it goes way beyond that. It's really about the future of science as a whole.
I agree. It's a whole new era of scientific discovery, and AI is playing a leading role.
It is, but as we move into this new era, we have to be careful. We have to make sure that AI is a force for good, that it helps us understand the world better, and that it doesn't replace human ingenuity and critical thinking.
We need to find that balance, using the power of AI without losing sight of what makes science so important. Curiosity, creativity, the desire to learn.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of AI and materials science. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep pushing the boundaries of what we know.